everybody? Welcome to the Joey Saladino Show. I'm Joey Saladino, and a lot of stuff has been going on in the political news, but this show is more of me responding and criticizing videos that I see on the internet related to politics. Not so much about current news stories as much, but the biggest story, obviously, is the Bernie Sanders versus Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz absolutely demolished Bernie Sanders. He totally put to rest Obamacare and the affordable any socialist policies involving healthcare that Bernie wants. He just put that to rest. He came with facts. Bernie was just using the same argument, I care about the kids type, the typical liberal argument where they just try to raise their morality over the opponent. So I'm going to go through a couple clips and talk about it. This one was actually my favorite. It was this woman, she was talking about, I'm just going to play the clip and you guys will understand.
We employ between 45 and 48 employees. My original plan was to open more salons and employ more people. However, under Obamacare, I am restricted because it requires me to furnish health insurance if I employ more than 50 people. Unfortunately, the profit margin in my industry is very thin, and I'm not a wealthy person, so it's impossible for me to grow my business. My question to you, Senator Sanders, is how do I grow my business? How do I employ more Americans without either raising the prices to my customers or lowering wages to my employees?
Rhonda?
LaRhonda.
LaRhonda, okay. You own 5 salons.
That's correct.
And you employ close to 50 people.
Just under.
And what kind of health insurance do you provide to them?
None.
You provide no health insurance to them?
Correct.
Let me give you an answer.
I'm going to pause that. Just look at his face. So he's like, oh, you provide no health insurance? Kind of like he's talking down to her like she's a bad, evil person. Like, oh, how can you not provide health insurance? That's what he said with that facial expression to her, which is absolutely disgusting. If she was going to provide health, and look at her face. Her face, I paused it. I don't know if it's paused on here, but her face is like, oh my God. Listen, I'm going to play the rest of the clip.
You will not be happy with. And that is, I think, that for businesses that employ 50 people or more, given the nature of our dysfunctional healthcare system right now, where most people do get their health insurance through the places that they work. I'm sorry. I think that in America today, everybody should have healthcare. And if you have more than 50 people, you know what? I'm afraid to tell you, but I think you will have to provide health insurance.
So my question is, how do I do that without raising my prices to my customers or lowering wages to my employees?
You see, the difficult.
Listen, Bernie Sanders doesn't understand that a small business owner cannot afford health care for all their employees. She even later goes on to say that the profit margins in her business are not that high. Many businesses, the profit margins aren't that high, and I'm pretty sure she's not an incredibly wealthy person either. She probably makes a good amount of money because it costs a lot of money to run a business. A lot of people don't understand that. Bernie Sanders, he'll see, oh, you pull in $500,000 to $1 million a year. He'll see that and be like, how can you not provide health insurance for your people? But what they don't understand is there's bills, there's taxes, there's payouts. And at the end of the day, you're left with $50,000 to $100,000. And that $50,000 to $100,000 would have, I guess, been that health care. And then the business owner will be left with nothing in a business that they can't sustain and afford. So what this does is this limits growth to her company. She wants to expand her company to get to the point where she could open up 10 stores, maybe 20 stores. And she can't. She can't get to that point because there's a limit. Once you go past this point, your costs quadruple because you need to do healthcare now for your hairdressers, which is, in a capitalist society, it would be, you have the freedom to hire whoever you want, how many people you want, at the wage you want, and then that person could use their money to get their own health insurance. Why is it the responsibility now of the employer to do that? Wages are going to be cut. If she had to do that, if she had no choice, the prices would go up, wages would have to be cut, and she'll probably go out of business. And then all those people will lose their job. That's the outcome. All those people are going to lose their job.
Is, and I'm not much of an expert on hair dressing in general, and certainly in Fort Worth.
I'm just one of small businesses.
I know. But my guess is one of the problems that we have is there may be somebody else in Fort Worth who is providing decent health insurance to their employees. And they are in an unfair competitive situation regarding you. You can compete and maybe charge lower prices, get business, while they, on the other hand, may be providing decent health insurance.
I think you'll find the profit margin in my entire
industry
about
I
the same.
certainly don't know, about hair salons in Fort Worth. But I do believe, to be honest with you, that if you have more than 50 people, yes, you should be providing health insurance.
This just shows you Bernie Sanders has no idea how business and economy is run. If he did know what business and economy was run, he would ask specific questions. What are your profit margins? How much are you pulling in? How much do you pay your employees? How much are you pulling in after? What's your gross income, your net income? Those are the answers that those are the questions he should be answering, not just how many employees do you have. Because if she has just enough money to pay those employees, there's no profit margin to even pay for health insurance. Health care. So in his socialist world, I think his take should be, if you're making over a certain amount in profits, then you should pay. That's what he should be doing, which I totally don't agree with. But that's what he should have been going across, not by the number of employees. It should be at least by the profits, which I don't support at all. But in his socialist world, I think it should be going by that. It's just a little inconsistency, a little more flaws in socialism. Like I could do socialism better than Bernie. I made a tweet after that whole debate, and although Bernie got absolutely destroyed, that didn't stop. I even said, even though Bernie got destroyed, it's not going to stop BuzzFeed from making a highlight tape. I don't think BuzzFeed made one, but I saw one from NowThis Politics, which they should just call this NowThis Leftist instead of politics, because all that it just promotes just a leftist agenda. I'm going to play it. I don't know how they were able to get a highlight tape out of Bernie out of this one. They just pretty much had Bernie talk and cut it off before Ted Cruz even had his rebuttal that would have totally destroyed whatever he previously stated. So I'm gonna play that and talk about it.
Ted, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Is every American entitled, and I underline that word, to health care as a right of being an American? Yes or no?
Hold on. Let me finish what I'm saying.
I got the Bill of
Rights. Healthcare is a right.
She has access, but she doesn't have enough money. Access to what? You want to buy one of Donald Trump's mansions? You have access to do that as well. Oh, you can't afford $5 million for a house? Sorry. Access doesn't mean a damn thing.
Access does mean a damn thing. It means you have access. Ted Cruz and what he was going about, he's like, it's not a right. You don't have a right to somebody's services. You don't have a right to somebody's goods. You have a right to freedom of speech. You have a right to bear arms. But that doesn't mean that the government has to buy you a gun. Those are your rights. You don't have a right to someone else's services from healthcare. And what Ted Cruz was basically saying is like, the government can't run anything. The government sucks at running at everything. The prices of healthcare were a disaster under Obamacare. Premiums went up. People getting kicked off their insurance. It was an absolute disaster. It cost an outrageous amount of money. And Bernie just believes everything is a right. He just believes everything's a right. You have the right to this, the right to that. And he doesn't understand. He doesn't know what a right is. And Ted Cruz explained everything about rights, but they obviously took that out of the video.
As Americans, Ted, we're going to have to make a very fundamental decision. Is health care a right of all people? Is it or not? Ted doesn't think it is. I do think it is.
Maybe you and I could agree on a common sense reform of allowing LaRonda to purchase health insurance in any of the 50 states.
I think standing together for a Medicare for all single-payer system is a lot better idea. Because when you have the idea that Ted was talking about, this is a race to the bottom.
Just a couple of weeks ago on the Senate floor, I voted with you.
You voted for my amendment.
In support of that, in support of allowing drug reimportation that messed this all up. And Bernie and the Democrat solution is more cowbell, more cowbell.
Ted, you're a good lawyer and you use words well.
Thank you. Well, Bernie, since apparently I'm now trying to kill the elderly,
talk about how CNN did a good job hosting the debate. This is just the leftist agenda right here. They're just forcing one side. They had probably like 2 sentences of Ted Cruz in here. Like, if it's really now this politics, they should really just show both sides, at least a rebuttal and a quick response to each one, to make it at least a fair fight in this highlight reel. Bernie Sanders, the whole debate, the whole 2-hour debate was just him repeating himself constantly. And it's just so frustrating, because the fundamental difference between a socialist and a conservative is crazy. The socialist Bernie Sanders in this situation just doesn't have the understanding of rights and freedom and the ability to choose, and just doesn't understand that the ability to choose and the free market will bring the prices down and make it affordable for everybody. Ted Cruz was talking about opening up state borders for healthcare. So this way it creates a more competitive market, and importing drugs from other countries. This way it brings prices down. The free market will work its way out, where you can get a job and pay for it yourself, instead of it costing 10 times more from the government and having taxpayers pay for it. Because that's how it works. If the government's running it, it's going to cost 10 times more, and it's still going to come out of your pockets and everybody else's pockets. I believe it's a right for the government not to take my money and give it to somebody else. Apparently, I guess pregnancy was brought up. This video was talking about how pregnancy considered a pre-existing condition before Obamacare, and Bernie's whole argument is that, it's not profitable. It's not profitable. Why would the health insurance want to do something to save someone's life? It's not profitable. Profits is what makes the world go around. It's the money feeding into the system that saves lives. It's the money feeding into the system that cures diseases, that creates more medicine. That's what he doesn't understand. He believes everybody should be this moral good person just doing everything for free for the betterment of society. The world doesn't work like that. The world runs on money. It revolves around money. If the money's there, the cures will be there. If the money's there, the healthcare would be there. That's how the world works. The world doesn't work on rainbows and butterflies.
A pregnant woman before Obamacare, you know what you were considered to be? A pre-existing condition. Why would an insurance company want to provide care to you when having a baby is a fairly expensive proposition? You don't make money doing that.
The reason why you wouldn't get accepted before this time if you were pregnant going to get health care is because the insurance company will lose money on you. You're not feeding into the system to then take out. You're just taking out of the system. That's how business works. If someone's paying in, let's just say $10,000 a year into a system, and then time comes 20 years down the road where they need to take $50,000, $20,000 out of the system for their own health care, then that works out. That's how businesses run. But when you're just entering a system and then you need to take $20,000 to $50,000 out of the system, that's how it collapses. If there's too many people coming into the system just to take and not feeding in, it collapses. That's what Bernie doesn't understand. The money is what makes the world go round. The money is what saves lives. The money makes everything go round. And still on the subject of pregnancy, I don't remember if I talked about this video before, but Nev and his wife, about 2 months ago, I guess they had a kid, and they're talking about pregnancy in this video. They're hardcore socialists. All they like to do is talk about how European socialist nations are so much better than us, although they're all going bankrupt. So I'm going to play this video.
Ow, Cleo! Neve, Laura, and their new baby, Cleo, explain why parents need better professional care after having a baby.
Having a baby is amazing. It's the best thing ever.
I don't know, but I think these people also support abortion. So they're talking about how great babies are, but yet the leftist agenda supports sucking their brains out through a tube while they're still in the womb.
But real talk, the first week after giving birth to Cleo, I was in tears. I mean, imagine taking one of the most sensitive, delicate parts of your body and shoving it into the gummy little mouth of a crazy milk monster. The point is not that breastfeeding can be hard, but that there's a million things that are challenging about having a baby, especially in the first few weeks.
But often, in America, your only professional postpartum care is one doctor's visit a month and a half after birth.
The American system is setting moms up to fail. It's basically saying you should already know how to deal with mastitis, engorgement, and infections down there.
But
You should already know how to deal with that because you've been pregnant for 9 months. So in those 9 months, if you didn't learn anything about what's going to happen to your body after you have a child, then you are an absolute idiot. You don't need to have the government hold your hand through everything. If you're a woman and you're pregnant, you should know these things. You should do research on these things about what's going to happen to you after you have the baby. I can find out what's going to happen to a woman after they have a baby. After 2 hours of research, I can be a pro on it. It doesn't take that much work. You have easy access to Google, easy access to doctors, easy access to people who already been pregnant and had kids that can inform you on everything that's going on. You can find out on your own. Take some personal responsibility in your life.
it doesn't have to be that way.
In places like Iceland, Germany, and the Netherlands, every new mom has access to in-home care for 1 to 8 weeks after birth as part of her basic healthcare plan. And guess what? In those countries, the infant mortality rate is about half of that in the US.
All right, I'm going to pause it here. She's talking about the infant mortality rate is half in the countries that provide in-home home care, health care to mothers that just had kids, implying the fact that more kids in America, more babies, more infants in America die because they don't have that home care. You know, now they're going the whole morality issue. You know, if you want to save lives and save the kids, you'll support our socialist ideas. So I did a little quick research on NBC News, and let me see if I can pull up the right spot. Because I wanted to figure out, are many of these infants, the reason why the mortality rate is so high, I go, is it happening, you know, after birth? Is it happening like weeks, months down the line, or is it happening right away? Like, what are the reasonings for it? Why are so many more U.S. infants dying compared to these other countries? And it found out that, it says birth defects were the single biggest cause, but the report finds a high of low birth. So basically, there's summarize it. It's a pretty long article. To summarize it, the main reason is because one of the reasons the U.S. is so high is that we have a high preterm birth rate. So there's more birth defects in America, which is the reason why the infant mortality rate is more. And also babies are born preterm, and that's what causes death. And that's a large majority percentage of the infant mortality rate in America. So to assume based off of her analysis, which she's implying, she's basically assuming and implying it's because there's no home care. But that's not the fact at all. It has to do with stuff that's more going on in the womb, premature and birth defects, which has almost nothing to do with that extra health care. Because if that same thing was happening in those other countries, it would be the same exact thing. Moving on. About more socialist ideas, ATTN is promoting congrats to San Francisco. It's just became the first U.S. city to offer free college tuition. And I'm going to play this video real quick. I hate these videos. They always throw in like GIFs and GIFs, whatever they're called, of trying to make them hip and cool for college kids.
I noticed that you have a textbook on tape.
So basically, the city is going to be using the money from real estate tax on properties sold for more than $5 million to pay for the tuition of the city. This is going to cause a tremendous economic downfall in their economy. It's not free college. Someone's paying for it. The rich people are paying for your college. That's going to move rich people away from your city now. And over time, if these socialist policies keep going to San Francisco with higher minimum wage, more taxes to pay for it, because who knows? Once the well starts drying up with taxing these $5 million properties, once that well starts drying up, who are you going to tax next? And it's going to create a never-ending cycle. You're going to put more socialist policies intact, which is going to create more taxes, and the well's going to keep drying up, and you need to find more places to tax it, and it's going to just cripple the economy. So if they continue this socialist trend in this city and many cities like it, it's going to be Detroit 2.0. What's still going on right now is the refugees. I recently posted a video that's going viral where I went to the Muslim ban protest, pretending to be one of the protesters on their side, and none of them would allow any refugees to stay in their house. That's basically the gist of it. You go check out that video. You might have seen it already. But I'm gonna respond to a couple of videos where this guy, he's comparing Trump to an evil dictator, and we're gonna play it.
Travel ban is a euphemism. It's a Muslim ban.
It's not a Muslim ban. I mean,
we can run the tape.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
What Trump says and what Trump does are two completely different things every single time. It's not a Muslim ban. By definition, it's a travel ban. If it was a Muslim ban, there will be a shitload more countries on that list, which there's not. There would be a countless amount more countries on the list, but it's not. It's not directly targeting Muslims. It's directly targeting the countries from the Obama administration, which they deemed at high risk of terror. So if you're going to blame anyone, blame Obama for that.
This is the typical behavior of a dictator.
Was it a typical behavior of a dictator when Obama did it?
They exploit it to say, see, you should have given up your rights so that I could protect you. He said he wanted to put all Muslims...
What rights are we giving up for Trump's over dictatorship protection? What rights are we giving up? Nothing. We're not giving up any rights. We're stopping the importation of terrorism.
In a database, the ones that are here, like, I don't know, my 20-year-old daughter, for example.
Donald Trump likes to say, the 9/11 hijackers, they didn't come from Sweden.
The 1995 bomber of the Murrah building did come from the state of Michigan in the United States. And Dylan Roof did come from South Carolina.
So just because there's homegrown terrorism that's not radicalized Muslims doesn't mean that there's not terrorism being imported over here. There's plenty of times where refugees have entered Europe and bombed the shit out of their cities. They're also coming here and starting to bomb us. Why would we allow that? Under Bush, there was, besides 9/11, I don't think there was any radical Islamic terrorist attacks. Maybe very few amount. I got to do my research more on that. But I just know there was a lot more under Obama.
And I can keep going. The Ku Klux Klan is a homegrown terrorist organization.
So was Black Lives Matter. What was the last time the KKK had a rally where they were calling for, killing all black people and, shooting cops? I know Black Lives Matter, they have riots where they attack all white people. I think if you consider KKK a homegrown terrorist organization, an organization that has zero power right now and doesn't even organize anymore. I don't know when the last KKK protest was, even if it was probably so small, like in the numbers of 10. But Black Lives Matter is in the number of thousands, and they swarm the streets over false pretenses, calling for dead cops and attacking white people.
Do you think that the courts will strike down the travel ban?
I think they will. Many of the judges striking it are conservative judges. They're like Bush appointees, but they have some fidelity to the rule of law.
Everything Trump did with his travel ban was legal.
I think people should go out all over this country to protest it, to litigate against it, make songs against it, poems against it. Look, this is the United States, and we don't tell people what to believe.
You're telling me what to believe. And I challenge Keith Ellison to take in refugees into your house and to let them live with you until they get on their feet. That's my challenge to you. If you want to preach, be so preachy about your morality, I want you to do that. Everyone tweet him. I don't know his Twitter, but figure it out. And then another video by ATTN. See, when I do these videos, I literally just type in NowThis, BuzzFeed, and ATTN, and now GQ, and I just go through their videos, their most recent videos, and I just pick what what infuriates me the most, and I go off that. So they did a whole video. This one's called "Refugees Aren't Terrorists. By definition, they're running from terror." It shows a bunch of refugees, running in fear and explosions and them crying, and the kids. You gotta show the kids. Yep, more kids. Old guy. Here, take these life. Here, hold my baby. Oh god. Explosions. People crying. More kids. More kids. More kids. More kids crying mother. Of course these refugees are fleeing from terror. But what are the terror organizations doing? They're disguising themselves as refugees. They're tainting and riding the refugee wave to do more terrorist acts and get to the homeland, our homeland, Europe, any westernized culture, civilization. They're using this wave. They're tainting it to perform terrorist acts. That's an undeniable fact. ISIS even came out saying we're going to disguise ourselves as refugees and come over. That's what they're doing. So the solution is to create safe zones over there. Keep everything over there and create safe zones, and then they can live happily ever after and run around and play. It's simple as that. Fix over there. Don't bring the problem here. You can't bring an entire nation over here and integrate it into our culture, into our society. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure the majority of them are great people, good people looking to better their life and free terror. But when terror follows with them, the terror is going to be coming with them from wherever they are. So things will be a little bit better, obviously, than over there. But the terror is going to come, and the terror is going to turn into how Europe's turning into rape culture and bombings every month and terrorist attacks all the time. It's a mess. GQ magazine, Keith Olbermann, this guy is an absolute idiot. Absolute idiot. He just, I'm gonna play this video, and the way he preaches his morality in the video, he's just preaching down to you like, I'm a better person. You don't care about this kid. You need to care about these kids and promote my agenda because I'm better than... Just listen to it.
If you support Donald Trump or his ban on travel from 7 countries, let me ask you a few questions. I'm not going to yell, not going to question policy, just a couple of questions. Where is this beautiful little one from? What is her nationality, do you think? Where does her extended family live? What kind of threat could she be to you? And what would you do to save her life? What does your religion tell you to do about her? What do your instincts tell you to do about her? What do your experiences with children of your own tell you what to do about her? What do your experiences of loss tell you to do? Look at her again. If when you die, no matter your religion, your idea of an afterlife is even remotely accurate, what happens if you are judged by what you did or what you would have done about her? Because she, of course, is all the children in the world. She, of course, is all the innocence in the world. She has a name, obviously. She is Fatime, and she is nearly 5 months old, and 2 of her grandparents live near Portland, Oregon. 2 of them are citizens of the United States of America, and she has a heart condition, and she needs surgery, and she and her parents live in Iran. But they were on their way to Portland because open heart surgery on an infant is always a mortal risk. And frankly, her mother and father and her grandparents, the American citizens, the proud American grandparents.
I'm going to skip to the end. I'm just going to sum it up. So basically he's saying this family was on their way to America. They did everything legally to come here to get the surgery for the baby to save her life. But right before they came, Trump enacted his travel ban, and they weren't able to come here. But, over time, it got press, and they ended up coming here legally, and people helped them out. Listen, the way he's preaching his morality in this video, he's preaching his morality like, I'm better than you if you care about the kids. They always go on this. If you care about the kids, you will let them all in here, no matter what comes with it. Listen, he's making the intention of Trump seem like, I'm doing this to kill the kids. That's what he's making the intention out to be. He's not doing it to kill the kids. He's doing it to save the kids here. There's a reason. You don't... If ISIS is raining terror and they say, we're going to come in on the refugee wave, and in response, our government says, okay, we're going to have to stop the refugees from coming in. Whose fault is it? Is it our government's fault for not wanting to import terror? Or is it the terrorist fault for tainting the well? Whose fault is it? Who are you to blame? They're fighting the wrong fight, these super hardcore leftists over here. And I'm going to wrap up today's episode. But before I go, I want to challenge Keith Olbermann to also house refugees and their families. And because he wants to play the whole morality issue on saving the kids, I'm going to show you guys a picture of the 7-year-old boy who was killed by refugees in the Boston bombings. So Keith, if you care about this kid right here, if you care about the kids on our soil, you wouldn't allow the importation of terrorists. I'm going to leave you guys with that. Thank you for watching. Please drop this video a like if you support the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to Right Side Broadcasting. We'll be here every Friday. Stay tuned.